Yeah, hit the ground running. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
I'm excited.
Me too. So let's begin our journey as we established. I'm in Kansas City, you're in South Texas. So let's begin our journey with 5 years ago, this pandemic began, and it threw all of us into kind of this unknown. How did living through that time period ultimately affect the way that you live life and do things today?
Well, I'm definitely one of the not your average person, and the pandemic did not affect us at all. And that is because we were already living a very independent of society lifestyle.
Yeah.
We already had an online business where we just don't, I love people, but I don't like going out and peopling as much because people are crazy.
Yeah. Hmm.
We're all our own certain brand of crazy, right? And when
Yeah.
you get us all together, like I'm a country girl, I
Yeah.
think that would summarize that. I'm not a big city girl. I'm not a big town girl. And so I'm not drawn to going where people are.
Yeah.
Um, and so we were already set up with our businesses at home. We had been homeschooling our kids since the beginning. So, and they're now 18 and 23. And so we were already like, if we did not turn on any social media, we may have been like, nothing's even going on because
Yeah.
we live our life in a way where we kind of control um, our day.
Absolutely. So speaking of that proverbial day, let's get a handle on what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. Let's say they're in the sixth grade, it's career day, and one of the kids in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I would probably lead in with I design books for kids because using a word like publishing facilitator may not resonate with them. It
Yeah.
may sound too stuffy,
Yeah.
but that is at the when you drill it down. Where my magic shines is working hand in hand with the author and the illustrator to bring a story to life that kids will love.
So what did you want to be in the sixth grade? What was your dream?
Um, I am a middle child of a large family, and no one was really talking to me about what I wanted to be. What I wanted to be was loved.
Yeah.
What I wanted to be was heard, and I wasn't really thinking of a career path. So that is one reason I am very passionate about books because books filled a gap for me, like, being able to go into the book. And not that, I mean, my parents loved me, they were not abusive, nothing like that. But if you've ever been in a large family, you know how easy it is for certain kids to get overlooked, to get like, oh, when your brothers and sisters are all amazing athletes and you're the book nerd, you know, uh, you're just kind of set aside because you take care of yourself, right? No one has to drive you places or do things for you. And I actually did just do a book called Which Career Will You
Oh,
Choose?
cool.
It is really cool because it is geared specifically toward this type of conversation
Yeah.
about helping kids in that age bracket that you mentioned, like fourth to sixth grade. Even though picture books generally are not for that age range, sometimes you can use a picture book format to cover a fun subject for that age range. And that is what Bill Corbett and I did is it's not your typical which career will you choose book. It really gets into like over 50 careers, like blue collar careers, white collar careers, domestic engineering, dog walking, fun things like that to help provide that conversation for kids who maybe aren't getting um, any other direction. Maybe they will find this book in the library and start thinking, oh, here are some things I could do.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What was the book when you were growing up? What was the book that made you want to get into this world? What book was your favorite?
I really loved Ramona Quimby
Yeah.
as an early chapter book.
Uh-huh.
And do you have kids yourself?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I got a stepdaughter and a son.
Okay. Are you? happen to be familiar with the Ramona
Oh yeah,
Quimby at any
absolutely.
level?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, you look to be around my age. I'm mid 40s,
Yeah.
so that was when Ramona was hitting the
Oh
scene,
yeah.
and she was a nuisance.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until years later. You know, you look back on things and you're like, oh, that's why. That's why the adults were laughing. And so I remember my two of my aunts on my dad's side. I mean, I'm thankful that I received any gifts, but they gave me Ramona as gifts. They gave me the Ramona books, and it was always that passing look between the adults, and it dawned on me, a few years ago, like, oh, they thought I was Ramona. They thought I was the nuisance. I was the girl with the doll named Chevrolet, like, and really, I guess I was. Maybe Ramona grows up to be a book designer.
There
Not
you
quite
go.
sure.
So let's get into your career path here. How did getting into books begin, and how did it kind of evolve into your career today?
Um, so books were always a staple. I was always the girl with the book. And I and that has stayed with me up until my adulthood. And then when I became a mother, you have less time to read books that you want. And so you kind of would like stay in that picture book realm of finding books to pass down to my children, to share with my children, especially as a homeschooler. And then a part of that journey was I did work out in corporate America, which is what made me decide to start my own business, because corporate America does not care about you as a person. And I watched that happen with my dad, who worked at a tire factory his whole life at Kelly Springfield, and then him and several others. They sold the company to Goodyear, and they were not concerned about, oh, you're a year shy of retirement
Yep.
and everything you work for lies, right? That they were
Yeah.
going to take care of you. And so, of course, I've seen that, as many of us have, in other parts of our life. And so I really do believe the only job security is when you build yourself. And but I left corporate America to become a stay-at-home mom. And while I was a stay-at-home mom, I realized I still wanted to do other stuff, right? I love working with systems, with computers. And so this is when the internet was really starting to become available in the country, 15, 16 years ago. And, or actually, yeah, my daughter's 18. So right around that era.
Yeah.
And I started blogging about being a homeschooling mom. And so this is back when blogging was a big thing. Everybody was blogging,
Uh-huh.
blogger.com, Blogspot, all of this stuff. And so I found a community of other homeschooling moms online. And the next step in the blogger, how to make money as a blogger world, was you had to have an ebook. And so everybody was like, oh, I got to have an ebook to sell, but I don't know how to create an ebook.
Yep.
Well, I did. And so I was like, oh, I can do that. And so I started just creating, I mean, they were like recipe books, homeschooling tips and tricks, just whatever bloggers were blogging about back then. And then that led to me really just getting serious about it and learning to do it as a profession, because when you learn more, you do better. Hopefully that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so whereas I started out using Microsoft Word because that's what I knew, then someone was like, oh, do you work in Adobe InDesign? I'm like, never heard of that. What's that? And so then that just led me down learning Adobe InDesign and then becoming an expert at that. And then I had always wanted to do picture books, but I respected it too much to just say, yeah, I can do a picture book, because
Sure.
I knew it's an art form. And a lot of people don't realize that. And that's why there's a lot of shitty picture books
Yeah.
by self-published authors.
Sure.
They don't understand there is an art to it.
Yeah.
And but after almost 15 years of my business, I started really getting serious about picture books after I had finally learned um, the staples of the process and really what it took to make a quality picture book. And here I am on your podcast.
I love it. So let me ask you this. Who's been kind of an inspiration, a heroic force for you in your life?
um, it's probably not a popular answer, but I really just don't have heroes.
Sure.
I they let you down. And if I had to say anybody, it would be my husband.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get emotional on this
Yeah.
podcast,
No, it's
Joe.
fine. It's fine. I get it. It's all good.
I mean,
Um,
I am a laugher. I mean, I'm one of those people, like, I am very happy, but I'm very in touch with my emotions.
absolutely.
But I also will laugh at a funeral. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
that as well. But to be loved, that
Yeah.
my husband has shown me. One thing he said to me years ago is, I'm not here to change you. I'm here to love you.
Yeah.
And that was very impactful. And he is an amazing man with his own journey. And we've been together 25 years. And a part of that has been him believing in me
Yeah.
to grow this business.
So let me ask you this. Of all of the books, when you take this on, you take on these projects in everybody's lives. I mean,
Yes, yes.
publishing a book is a big deal. And putting your heart and soul into it, you're kind of carrying their lives. What were some of the early books or an early book that you were involved with that was a really big deal for them and for you and your growth?
Oh man. Oh, I have it right here. I tried to pull some books close to me
Yeah.
because I love I'm not a fiction person.
Yeah.
By default, I love to watch biographies, documentaries. And so when this book came, I don't know if you can see, it's Natalie and the
Yeah.
Nazi Soldiers.
Yeah.
This is based on a real story of the author's I can't remember now. I believe it was her mother-in-law
Yeah.
was a hidden child during World War II. It says during the Holocaust, Natalie is a hidden child in the French countryside.
Yeah.
One day she has to prove her mettle to save herself and her sister. And so, like, it was really an honor for me to be trusted with this story of a Holocaust survivor that I'm very passionate about all people in our stories, and we all go through different things, whether, it's the Holocaust to some people, or it's the other tragedies that happen across other times in our lives. And for some people right now that are going through similar stories that we don't even know of because they're happening in other places. But this was a very delicate matter, and it was great to work one-on-one with the author to make sure that, and the illustrator, to make sure that the art was conveying what it needed to convey, that the manuscript was doing what it needed to do to tell the important story of which, in these books for this age range, you're not getting into the heart, you're not getting right to the punch.
Yeah.
You're choosing a small time. Like, this was over the course of an afternoon, this thing happened, and it leads to other conversations
Yeah.
that can be had. And so I was very, like I said, honored to have been chosen to do this book. And it's made a big impact in her community.
So let me ask you this. What is it that gets you up every day to do this work? You're an entrepreneur, you're doing work, you're obviously, like we established, you're taking people's lives and presenting it in a wonderful way, but you have a life, you have a family, you have a soul. What gets you
Mhm.
up every day to take care of all of those things to the best of your ability?
Well, I do feel very passionately about, that story about the starfish, like, oh, the little girl was throwing the starfish in the
Yeah,
ocean, and the guy's like, oh, there's a million of them dying, and she's like, it matters to this one.
yeah,
And so I really feel that way with picture books like this. I am working on a book that authors are investing
yep,
$10,000 to $20,000 in these books, not they're not spending that on my service. I'm a portion of that service. But I think having been brought up frugally as a little country girl, that $5 is still a lot of money. Like,
Yeah.
even though I make way more than $5, I remember what it was like to make $4.32 an hour,
Yeah.
under minimum wage all those years ago. And I know when I invest my money with somebody, like I invested $10,000 on my own website, so while authors are investing money, thousands of dollars with me and with printers and with illustrators, I'm taking that trust fall with someone else
Yeah.
as well. And so I definitely, I want to make sure that I am someone that can be trusted with this investment, not someone who's going to take your money and lay in bed for a week, eating bonbons and drinking champagne or whatever
Yeah.
other people do. I don't know. My dad being a blue collar worker from the country, work ethic was really drilled into us.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I am so glad when
Yeah.
I look around at the people who don't have a work ethic, and I understand how you can convince yourself a work ethic isn't necessary, because what does it matter anyway?
Right.
But I'm just glad that I did have work ethic put into me. Maybe that's just a Gen X thing. I'm not sure.
No, I understand. I totally get it. Hey, I come from the same generation, and I think that, yeah, there's so many factors that go into it. And I know my dad was a hard worker too. So let me ask you this. You're in a world where, as we've established very clearly, you're helping people achieve their dreams. And it can be a serious business, even though you're illustrating
Yes.
stories. And the story about the Nazis and the girl, that's a serious subject matter. So let me ask you this. If you could get into a room of everybody that you've helped publish a book, everybody that's been a client, and you walk through that room of people and go to a podium and you can tell them one fun story about you, one fun thing, one fun fact, an anecdote that would humanize you, that they might see you in a different light as the person behind publishing these books, what would you tell that room of people?
Oh my goodness, that's a good. I wish I'd had time to prepare for that, because
Well,
I don't think of myself like that.
okay.
I
What
guess.
about like a first concert or something fun like that?
Hmm.
Best concert.
Yeah. Well, okay. I haven't been to that many concerts.
Yeah.
But my son and I both love Post Malone.
Okay. Very nice.
And so we went to Posty Fest in Dallas. I mean,
Yeah.
I am hardcore. I think I wish I could sit down and talk with Post Malone, not from a fangirl
Yeah.
perspective, but really from a business perspective,
Yeah.
because I success like that does not just happen overnight. You don't
Sure.
just release one song and, oh boy, it gets picked up on SoundCloud and all of a sudden you're making trillions of dollars. He had parents that really invested in him. I know he's really close with his dad, and invests with his dad on some things. And so I'm just really big about the parent-child relationship,
Yeah.
and how how we raised our kids, because I'm not the conservative homeschooling mom. I know I can come across as that, especially I'm from Texas. I'm a country girl. I'm white. I did a book about, Natalie and the Nazi soldiers. But really, at the heart of it, my goal is to raise my children as fellow humans,
Yeah.
and that we are all on this such human, unique experience journey. And that I wish that my parents had been able to talk to me as a fellow human,
Yeah.
instead of dictating, do this, go here, wash the dishes, don't talk back, don't ask questions, right? I am a question asker. I've
Yep.
allowed my children to ask questions. Um, I really have a thirst for life. And when I am designing books for kids, that's what I'm treating those children like it was my curious,
Sure.
weird self
Yep.
reading the book,
Yeah.
because children are curious and weird.
Yeah.
It just gets suppressed by the adults who want to control and who have fear because control stems from fear.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, accomplished, and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
My family.
Yeah.
Yes, 100. My marriage and my family. It's a lot of hard work. I have so many work accomplishments. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I've helped over close to 1,000 authors that my reputation precedes me. The fact that people trust me is a huge success, especially in this economy. And that's another thing, like, I mean, the economy is tight, no
Yeah.
doubt right now. And you're going to go through that as regardless. Like my brother is in the car industry. He's a general manager for a large car dealership. And, you know, they're feeling strained too. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're going to have those struggles. But when you build a good reputation, that's going to see you through because when people have limited funds, I will say that about the pandemic is people had access to a surplus of funds,
Yeah.
or some people did because they were whatever it was that they were doing to get those extra funds, applying for. I don't know. I didn't apply for any extra money, so I can't think of what it's called. I kind of went against my work
Oh, the
ethic.
PPP
Yes,
loans. Yes. Yeah.
yes. I didn't want a loan,
Yeah.
but thankfully I didn't need a loan. You know, there's that as well. But anyway, so people did have access to more funds than they usually had, and they had time, and they were able to sit at home and write these books, and then research publishing, and then find someone to hire. So I've gone from regular economy to the pandemic economy with access to time and funds. And now we're post that where funds are tight, everybody's back to work, time is tight. But my referral, I mean, my business is all referral. And I think that's probably the coolest thing is that I have a 6-figure business that is all referrals.
I
Like,
love
I
it.
mean, yes, I'm doing podcasting now because I don't want to wait
Sure.
until my referrals run out. You know, you
Yeah.
do have to be doing things to stay out there.
Yeah.
But just the fact, like I said, that people they trust me, not only trust me enough to do business with me in a good time, but in tight times, and that they trust me enough to refer me.
So at the end of the day, Melinda, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your
Mhm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I definitely think I have not yet been who I'm going to be. That I'm a slow burn, and I take things very seriously. I take, even though I am a bit of a goofball. I It's kind of like how my life is coming together, like how a picture book comes together, and it's one step at a time. Take that step, stand back, evaluate, let it rest, let it marinate, look at it with fresh eyes, say, is it really the best? Because step one has to be correct before you go to step two. And I feel that because I did not have anybody helping me in my childhood with these things, that that was the gift I gave myself when I started homeschooling my kids, is to experiment, is to test myself, try new things, learn to play the piano, learn to sew, like go on adventures, do the things I didn't have the freedom to do because of all the just different reasons of being raised in the country by blue collar parents.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the best is yet to come, and which, I mean, I know it doesn't sound very humble. I'm really good at what I do.
Good.
I'm really good now,
Yeah.
but I'm just getting better.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. You know, getting old beats the alternative,
Uh-huh.
right? Like knowing that we're on this last half of life,
Yep.
it is exciting to look back on how much I have learned just in 10 years, in 20 years.
Yeah.
And if I can maintain my health and my vigor, that I'm just getting smarter, I'm getting wiser, I'm getting more experience, and I would love to lead a team. That's my goal. But I didn't want to just start hiring people without knowing everything they had to go through themselves, because I don't really think you can be the best leader if you don't if you haven't been in the trenches yourself.
Yeah.
And so now that I've done several parts of this publishing process on my own over the years, I'm ready to start finding the talent that that can take my place in some of these aspects, so I can do only the things that I can do.
Absolutely. So speaking of, if anyone wants to reach out, hire you, learn more, any questions, The Good Business, where do they go?
melindamartin.me.
Okay, that's easy. Melinda, you were wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Continued success.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.